It's a modern hypermarket car park in Leicester, but looking at the cars, it's hard to believe that it's the 1990s. And the reason for this invasion of over 1,400 machines from a different era is that it's the start of the 4th annual Leicester Mercury vehicle pageant and parade.
Well, it was manufactured in 1904, and the model first appeared in February 1903. But this particular example was manufactured in 1904. It's believed, although it's not confirmed, that this car was owned by its original designer and manufacturer. That was one John Davenport Sidley, who later became Lord Kenilworth and was responsible for forming the company Armstrong Sidley Motors. Armstrong Sidley Motors subsequently became Bristol Sidley Engines and then Rolls-Royce plc. Of Derby fame for aero engine manufacture and also motor cars. So the car has always belonged to the Sidley organisation, and it now resides in the Rolls-Royce Heritage Trust. Right. Now.
Now, I heard you saying back there that you hope it doesn't break down throughout the 14-mile route. Is there any chance of that at all?
No, well, it hasn't let us down before, but you know, telling with these old cars, is it really?
That's right. Well, can you tell us a little bit about it?
It was American. It's a Knox, K-N-O-X. It's American. In some respects, quite advanced for its year. It's a twin cylinder, about 16 horsepower.
What is its year?
1904.
How did you come about the vehicle?
I bought it from a friend of mine who had it, and he bought it at a sale when it was imported, only quite recently, in fact.
Okay, was it in this condition when it was imported?
No, I think my friend did it quite a lot.
Okay. How difficult is it to maintain and restore?
Well, because you can't get parts, you've got to make any parts you need. You've got to make them, which is a bit of a job. But if you're friends in the engineering world, then you're all right.
How do you propose to get round?
Oh, not too many problems. We'll be stopping off for drinks on the way. You know, we've arranged to have drinks because when you're riding something like this, you tend to get a bit dehydrated.
I should imagine
but,
you do, yes.
It's nice with the crowds there. You know, they carry you around anyway.
They do. How on earth do you get on a machine like this?
Would you like to see?
I'd love to see it, please. Yes.
Just hold on a minute. I'll have to come down that way. So, what you have to do is you have to use the weight of the machine and the pedal riding up to step on it. So get a clear run.
Yes, stand back.
To be long rather than round. That you can have any car as you like, so long as it's black. And you know, all these black cars are all lined up. They're so shiny. The bodywork is wonderful.
Hey, can you tell us a little bit about this fine piece of machinery that you have with you?
It's a 1911 15 horsepower sleeve valve Daimler, which I found in Christchurch, New Zealand 18 months ago. And I bought it off the original family and shipped it back to this country more or less in the condition that it is now.
Fine, so exactly how old is it?
It's 80 years old this year.
80 years, fine looking piece of equipment.
It's used very regularly and is very, very reliable.
Is it possible to put a price on a piece of machinery like this, car like this?
I know what I paid for it, and I know what I've got it insured for. I actually paid £20,000 for it. I should think it's probably worth at least double that.
Okay. Are there many in this country?
There's, of this model of Daimler, I think in total there's about 4 or 5 in existence totally. So they're a fairly rare machine.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Famous names like Velocette, Ariel and Norton are all brought along by their proud owners. And a three-wheeled combination must be the ultimate in comfort.
Very comfortable indeed.
But isn't it cold?
No, not cold, really. I normally wear a helmet, but not today.
When we've got the main parade started, we're then going off on the AEC renowned bus with the Deputy Lord Mayor, and we go around the parade then and then create wherever, you know.
So I'm going on that old bus over there, the 1939 Renown. But that thing, I was saying to him, I said, well, you know, how fast will it go? You know, he said, well, it'll do 70. He said, the problem is he's stopping it.
Minute to go!
But with the help of various friends, yes, it's been restored. First time out, it's done 4 miles up to now.
Marvellous.
It's made by Rog in Coventry.
Looks a bit hard on the seat, John.
Not too bad, not too bad. It's fairly comfortable.
Oh, yay! Oh, yay! Oh, yay! Welcome to the 1991 Leicester Mercury Vehicle Pageant and Parade. Now, the first of the parade, the cycles will proceed, and God bless all those who dare to take the road on this type of transport. Away!
Holding.
Cycles from a different age when there was no such thing as a pedestrian crossing. Are they easy to ride? It looks massively complicated.
No, not all that easy. No, not when you use a modern bike and then you go on to that. It's instead of having a throttle control, you just grip. You have a lever. See, it's like having a lever instead of what's name on the floor of a car, isn't it? You know.
What's the maximum speed that you get out of it?
Well, I'd say probably about 55.
1936 PSA, J12.
Fine.
Built originally for the part of a ministry contract.
Highly polished.
Hardly polished.
$1935. Still going strong. There you go.
Oh,
yeah. Bye-bye now.
Down the outside.
Many of these vehicles date from a time before traffic jams, before yellow lines, traffic wardens or seat belts were ever thought of, and roads were free. The 14-mile route skirting Leicester ends at Abbey Park in the city centre. That doesn't sound very far these days, but most of these vehicles are from a time when motoring was an adventure, a pleasant occasion to be enjoyed by very few people. Today is special. The Leicester Mercury has given a car to be raffled and the proceeds given to Leicester Rotary Club's Bone Bank appeal. The prize car is this Austin Somerset.
Haven't got off once, honest.
Owners prize their vehicles beyond all else, but today they have their sights set on recognition by winning one of the many trophies on offer.
If you look at the mileage on it, it's not got a lot. And it's, I just go on charity runs and things like that. Like last year we went on Run to the Sun down to Newquay. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's got to be a good weather car though.
How long does it take to build something like this from scratch?
Well, if anybody but me, it should be quite quick, but it took me 2 years because I wasn't that sure about fiberglass in the body when I originally built it. I soon learned.
Okay. If I wanted to buy this from you, Jim, how much would you ask?
Oh, now you're asking a question. It's one it's an awkward one because how can you put price on something you love and time and effort that you put into it? You can't. If I tried to ask the money that I wanted for this, nobody would pay it.
Meanwhile, at Abbey Park, vehicles not taking part in the 14-mile run have been assembling. Now attention is focused on the arrival of the first vehicles in the parade. And officials are anxious that no gum-up has occurred in the traffic flow. But no, they're on time. To some of the younger generation, these cars may seem oddities, but to others, it's pure nostalgia. The motorbike sidecar takes the salute. Some are hoping that the high standard of their entry will flatten the opposition. But to others, their arrival was an emotional time.
You're not crying this year?
No, it's just over the moon that we've done it and we've raised some money for over to you, John, for the St John's Brigade.
Lovely, lovely. Well done. Would you like to go now?
Oh, no.
Okay, come. Hi, Miss Cara.
Hey, how do you feel?
Shattered.
What was the worst part about it?
The
The elite band of heavy goods vehicles had a spectacular display with many unusual types.
We still use it now for recovery, for large jobs, as you can well imagine.
What sort of jobs would they be?
Well, the last job it did was a mobile crane, which weighed about 60 tonnes, which had turned over, and we actually righted it with this vehicle, pulled it up the bank. Using this vehicle, actually, it weighs at the moment about 35 tonne, it's ballasted, and it's got that much traction, that whereas other people, or with the other vehicles, you probably had a winch it, but this has got enough power just to, you know, put a chain on it, a chain that will stand it, you know, with some fairly substantial links, and you know, pull it out.
And how much would one of these cost brand new?
Oh, I would think well over 150 grand now if you could get one. It's actually a 240 tonne towing tractor. It was new to Pickford's. Pickford's had it up in Scotland, and it went to an owner in Southampton, and then we bought it. And you know, it's in sort of daily use, really. I say daily loosely. I mean, you don't get a job for this every day of the week, but you know, when it's wanted, it's there. So the only problem is with it being 10'6" wide, we have to notify the police every time we want to move it. And it was very tight getting your gates here this morning.
Thank you, my friends, John Dodley's and Tom Webbs.
It's a Bullnose Morris, 1926, and I use it on pretty well every weekend on various rallies.
So it gets constant use?
Yes, in fact, only last 2 weeks ago we went to Scotland, went to the Isle of Skye, and this car did what, about 1,200 miles in about 10 days. Yeah, so it's a nice, reliable car to use.
Has it been in the family since 1926 when it was first
Oh no,
purchased?
my father's keen on bullnose Morrises in particular, and he acquired it, I would think, about 20-25 years ago. So I've used it since I've been able to drive. Yeah, the colour is original. It's bronze green, which is what correct for that year, and the body is original. But,
does it take a lot of time and expense to maintain the car?
well, you've obviously got to look after it, yes, and keep it well serviced and maintained. But if you're prepared to put the time in, then you get the benefits of being able to go out in days like this.
A toast could be given for the wonderful display put on by the Leicestershire Museum of Technology.
The basic collection of the museum is to collect things that have been built in Leicestershire. There is the one exception, of course, the renowned bus, which wasn't built in Leicestershire, but because it's such a unique vehicle and it's the only one of its kind in existence, and it was given to us by the Historic Commercial Vehicle Society, that we took it on and restored it in our workshops.
So how many vehicles have you got restored already?
Well, you can see the collection that we've got here at the moment. We've got the Delane's bus, which is the 1958 Leyland Tiger Cub. That was donated to us by the Delane Company from Bourne in Lincolnshire, and we've restored it completely in our works. That's been completely to pieces.
So how long would it take you to completely
It's taken about 5 or 6 years to do that. That's full-time work as well, with volunteer help. We do rely a lot on volunteers.
You do? How many volunteers have you got working for you?
Well, on our last steam day, there were 55 volunteers signed on to help out on the steam day. The oldest vehicle in the collection is this 1911 towel wagon, built originally the City Transport in 1911 to operate on the tower, on the tramways. It came from the City Transport when they finished using it. It was used right up to the end of the tramways to help dismantle the tramways. It's never been abandoned, it's always been looked after. We had it given to the museum in pretty good condition, apart that we've had to rebuild the engine because the engine wasn't working. We've had to have a new radiator on it as well. The radiator's brand new. Apart from that, it's original. You've got now in front of you the 2 double-deckers in our collection, both City Transport. The one on the right-hand side is the old Renown, the AEC Renown, built 1939 for Leicester City Transport. It's the only one of its kind on the road today. It's the only 3-axle vehicle on the road, especially pre-war one. It's quite a unique vehicle. The one on the left-hand side, 164, this was built 1958 at the Willowbrook in Loughborough, the reason we had it. It's been completely looked after and maintained by the volunteer group. It's very little work it's actually done on that by the museum staff.
The aerial Quint, it was made for Dunlop by Ariel in 1896, and this was one of 4 that was made, and we believe this is the only rideable one left now, and we have rid it today on the route today. One of the stories of the Quint was of the 5 brothers arriving at the ferry to cross the Witham in the early hours of the morning, and he used to charge a penny a wheel. So they got him out of bed and down to the ferry, thinking he was going to collect 10 pence. To his surprise, when he got here, it was 2 pence. He told them not to bother him again. Well, words to that effect, but not quite as polite as that.
Unusual would describe some of the specialised military hardware on display, following in the true tradition of the army, digging everything up.
For digging trenches for the troops, the digging head descends into the ground while it's rotating, the conveyor starts, and then there is a creep drive mechanism which drives the vehicle forwards slowly, and it can dig 4 foot 6 deep, which is up to here, 2 foot wide, at a rate of 18 foot a minute, which is quite phenomenal, really.
But would somebody please keep an eye open for the park keeper? A gala occasion such as today must cater for all ages and tastes. Looking at the cars is one thing, but riding in them is another. After all, that's what matters. So rides of all kinds just have to be provided, and they don't have to be all on the level or smooth. Just keep them rolling.
This is a Renault. It's 1905 Renault X. It's quite a powerful car, 3 litres, just over 3 litres, 4 cylinders.
So what sort of petrol consumption are we talking about then with an engine that size?
Difficult to know because there's no speedometer, so I never know how far I've been.
No speedometer, really?
But probably 15 to the gallon.
Very primitive dial equipment in there.
Well, there's nothing, is there? There's nothing.
What's the basket for here?
That's to put well, that's a modern edition, but they did have them originally. It's to put an umbrella in.
Really?
And so if it suddenly rains and you come to a halt in traffic, at least you could put the umbrella up.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
How long have you had the car?
Just 2 years.
2
yes,
years.
Yes.
Have you found it easy to run over that time?
There have been a few problems, but it is quite reliable.
What sort of problems generally do you come across with the car?
I've had trouble with the brakes, not working very well.
Right.
And
serious problem by the sound.
just oil getting into the brakes was the problem, and with the engine a little bit of problem with the magneto. Yes, certainly.
Show us.
A feature of Renaults, they had these rear radiators, and the air gets sucked through with the big fan blades on the flywheel with this scrolling here, so it never overheats in slow traffic, and no trouble with overheating when you drive it because you're out in the open air, very much so in fact.
Do you use the car regularly?
Well, I use it for events like this, perhaps
but not on a daily basis?
Every couple of weeks it comes out, yes.
In total contrast to the vintage and veteran cars, we have the sleek American models. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of the car?
Well, it was originally imported in '79 for an Arab sheikh into London. He had it for 2 years. A farmer in Wiltshire bought it. They traded it in for a new Cadillac, and I bought it from that.
And you bought it?
I'm the third owner, yeah.
Right, you're the third
Third
how
owner.
much approximately would a car like this, a Cadillac, be worth in such pristine condition?
I honestly don't know. All I know is I paid $5.5 for it.
And how that was?
And it's virtually as it was. And all I did was clean it up, give it a good polish, and you know.
Have you come far today to the pageant?
Barnsley, what, 70, 80 miles, something like that.
Okay.
Yes.
You came all the way?
Yes, we came last year. Yes.
American cars are known, of course, for guzzling the fuel. Any idea how many gallons?
Yes, exactly. We only checked it this week after 18.5. 18.5. 7 litre. No, it's good. But that was on a run down to Northampton, which was motorway driving there and back. But it's good mileage.
Has it been a hobby of yours for quite a while to run?
I've had American cars now for what, the last 8 years, 9 years.
So what's the attraction?
There's a phrase that you see a lot in the club magazines that once it's like a drug. Once you get into them, you just keep going. I started off with a right-hand drive Mustang and prior to Tayat Capris, and then suddenly, you know, I finish up with this. You just go and go, you know. It just gets into your blood.
Not all the exhibits are mechanical, some more attractive than others. Period costume, from the not too distant past, adds a touch of variety and charm to the occasion.
John, can you tell us a little bit about this super bike that you brought along today?
Yes, it's a 1925 Ricardo Triumph, the world's first production four-valve head motorcycle. Actually designed by Sir Harry Ricardo and Frank Lawford, who introduced us to leaded petrol because of the high compression ratio. So we've got to thank him for all our pollution.
How old is the bike?
It's 1925 and it's all been restored over about the last 3 years. And it runs very well, runs up to about 70 miles an hour. A bit strange, this sort of road traffic we've got, but it's not a bad little ride.
I assume by your young and good looks that you haven't owned it since 1925.
No, definitely not.
How long has it been in your possession?
4 years. And say 3 years to really restoring it. This particular model was based on a TT model that was used in 1921/2 around the Isle of Man TT course. And the guy riding it, Walter Brandish, crashed on an unnamed corner, and ever since then it's been called Brandish Corner. So the Ricardo's got a bit of TT history with it as well as being designed by Sir Harry Ricardo. As you can see up here, that's the four-valve head, twin pushrod onto twin inlet, twin exhaust valves.
It's a 1914 Ford Model T runabout. It's an American model. It was brought into this country in 1980. We acquired it and have put it in its present condition. My staff actually do this and they've done a superb job on it. They really have.
It is a genuine 1928 Morris Commercial L-type van. It is quite extremely rare, really, because as far as I know, it's the only complete example. I do know of a couple of chassis that do need restoring, but this, as far as I know, is the only complete van. It still actually sports its original engine and mechanical components. Although, of course, the engine has been remanufactured and the other components have been either reconditioned or restored. It actually belonged to an antique shop called John Goddard Antiques, and they worked the van, and I still have some old photographs of the van in their livery.
The result of the raffle is announced by John Aldridge of the Leicester Mercury.
The Austin Somerset has been won by Mr. K. Rhodes, R-H-O-D-E-S.
It's remarkable to me, looking around here, that 5 years ago the pageant hadn't been thought of, And this, I think, is the fourth in succession that we've had, and it's been undoubtedly the best. The best in terms of the number of cars entered, the best, if that's possible, in terms of organisation. The weather's been very kind to us, and I think that's certainly given us the best in attendance that we've ever had, although it's impossible to count. All this is the brainchild of one Susan Hollins. It was her idea that we should have a modest pageant of vintage and veteran cars, and that idea of hers has grown with the help of a lot of other people into this wonderful day. I would say without any doubt that it's the biggest event that happens in Leicester now, and I think that's good for the city, but it's especially good for the Leicester Mercury.
Competition winners proudly display their trophies for the official photograph. But the Concours d'Elegance was awarded to Mr. Luskin from Bedfordshire. His Armstrong Siddeley in all its pristine beauty was queen of the show.
I paid the grand sum of £50 for her in 1974, and I knew the chap who owned it, and he had laid it up for approximately 5 years before I bought it off of him. But the family, the wife and the boys and friends helped, but I suppose myself probably 90%.
While I'm washing up, he's polishing.
Workhorses were also rewarded.
The trophy was won by the van, which was the one we really wanted to win it with. That was Class Q, the under 30 hundredweight.
So the show's over and the contestants are homeward bound. One by one they leave the park, some under their own power and some have to be assisted. From the air, the organiser's balloon keeps an eye over all, and the happy raffle winner drives away his prize. Another great day, another grand show.